Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, Metroid's back, baby, so we're here to rank the classics. Definitively, it's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellis, joined as always by my co-host Mark Mitchell. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like we're like barreling through those opening sentences here.
Yeah, it's true.
Probably because we're like ticking clock. The air conditioner's off while we record.
That's right.
So the temperature is slowly rising.
We can roll this into the weather report. It's been warm, but we're getting through it.
Mhm.
Also, we are recording on Sunday evening.
That's right.
So, we're fresh off. We're still in the glow of the weekend.
Yes.
Which can make all the difference in the world. Normally, you're getting us at the end of a Monday. Sorry. I don't know why we do that.
I don't know why we do that either.
Well,
Timeliness.
Yes,
Yeah.
timeliness. We like to be timely. We'll be a little bit less timely on this one in case something huge happens tomorrow, but not a lot of huge stuff happening in the world of Nintendo right now. Mark, what have you been playing?
So we've both been playing Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest, of course.
Of course.
I think after last week's confusion, we have settled on this week will be the final episode of our play along.
This week, we get to the end, we roll credits, we see how much hidden stuff there is that we did not collect, and we say no thank you. No thank you to collecting all of that.
I also played the Metopia demo and the Ever Oasis demo.
Oh, how are those?
So, Ever Oasis seems fine. I don't know. It's kind of just like from the demo. My impression is that it's like baby's first Final Fantasy 12.
Oh boy, that's a thing to unpack.
Well, like the first part of Final Fantasy 12 where...
No, I don't. I haven't played a Final Fantasy since 10.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
At all?
No.
Okay. Well, okay. So the way that Final Fantasy 12 works, or a lot of it is like you have like your towns, which you would think of as just your normal RPG towns, like worlds, and then outside of that, you like venture out. And it's kind of like open worldy a little bit. Like it's just like a landscape that you can like run around in to get to the other like connected towns. And in this open world area, there's just creatures roaming around, and that's the battles, right?
Okay.
So like when you're in those areas, if you want to fight something, you just run up to it and fight it. And that is how Ever Oasis is. Like the Oasis is your hub world.
Right.
That you're like building, and it's like a safe haven from the chaos. So it's really just like RPG 101.
Yeah, okay,
the bad stuff is the chaos.
Right.
And it turned all the good things bad, and you're building
and all the bad things worse.
And you're building this oasis that's like a green wonderland, and in the middle of the chaos.
Right.
And you're recruiting people, and you're trying to get people into your oasis. The combat is like real time, and you can switch between your party members. It seems fine, but it seems like really juvenile, like which is fine for the target audience, but just not something that...
Right. Nothing that we're probably gonna get excited about.
And Metopia looks like... Playing the two demos back to back was really interesting, because even though Ever Oasis is published by Nintendo, it's developed by Grezzo, but Metopia was developed in-house, and you feel the difference, like, because Metopia is also definitely targeted at like a younger audience, but it feels
it's got that Nintendo polish on it.
Yeah, like it's just more like fun.
Yeah.
Because even in the demo, like assigning Miis to the different characters that pop up is really fun. So like the villain of the game shows up within the first, I don't know, like 5 minutes, and you pick the Mii that you want to be the villain, and so I
Right.
picked you. So
Oh,
so like
I'm the villain in your game?
because you were and it's
Right.
just like really fun to see your friends, me, like be the avatar for the bad guy,
That
or just like the face. The face is put
Right.
on. Yeah.
That is fun. I'm trying to think of how many Miis I even have on my 3DS.
Well, so it also comes preloaded with like a bunch for you to choose from.
Yeah.
At least the demo does. So it's like a bunch of people from Nintendo. Steve Urkel's in there, like Family Guy
wait.
characters, some
So-
dinosaurs, like
So is there like a Bill Trinan, a Miyamoto?
yeah.
That's great. Reggie.
and like the classes that you assign to the different party members. There's the warrior and the thief and like a mage and all that kind of stuff, but there's also pop star and
Sure.
cook.
Of course there is.
But the actual combat, like the game will literally play itself. You can do auto battles,
Mhm.
so or you can do turn based, and it looks like, again, it's just the demo, but it looks like when you're going from like area to area, it's basically just on the bottom screen a straight path where your little avatars are running, and then they'll occasionally stop to like have an interaction or to like fight a battle, but it doesn't look like there's any real exploration other than you telling go from like point A to point B and then see the little thing like happen as it goes that way.
Sure. So it's not really an exploration based game.
Right.
It's just like guiding you through a linear experience.
So it's not really something that I'm super interested in, but I'm glad I played the demo because the demo was a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm gonna pick up that demo and play it now. And I think you've turned me off of Ever Oasis entirely.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed. I don't think I realized how juvenile it is. Like, it's polished, like it looks fine, but in the
The designs are really chibi too, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know how like in the 90s, like the late 90s, early aughts, a bunch of companies decided they were going to get in the Disney animated movie game. So there's
Yeah.
like Anastasia from Fox and
Mhm.
like something from Warner Brothers about Camelot. And you watch them and they're like a Disney movie, like they're hitting all the marks of a Disney movie, but they just feel a little weird and cheap and off-brand.
Yeah.
And that's how Ever Oasis felt, where it's like, I can see how this is a Nintendo game,
But like it's just not quite there.
yeah.
Yeah. I've been playing more. So okay, I got ARMS this weekend.
Yeah, the big elephant in the room, obviously, is that ARMS released on Friday, and
This
neither of
episode
us
is
have
not
played
about
it.
ARMS.
This episode is not about ARMS.
I got my copy of it on Friday. It arrived in the mail Friday. When I got home from work, it was there waiting for me, and I said, "Sweet." I turned on my Switch and started to open the case that the ARMS cartridge was in, and it started up my game of Zelda, and I was like, "Oh, that's right. I was just about to fight this Lionel." 3 hours later, I hadn't played any ARMS, and so the rest of the weekend, any game time that I had, I spent playing Zelda. I am upgrading all of my armor now.
Wow.
Or to the best of my ability, which means I've had to hunt the dragons to get shards of horns from each one of them. I collected 3 star fragments this weekend, and I rounded up all the memories. I'm so excited for there to be more of this game, and like the hard mode. I'm excited about that now because I've got all this awesome armor that I'm just gonna like bulldoze those guys with. I'm very excited.
Does it feel like maybe in one of the patches or like updates they've released that it rains less than it used to?
I don't know. I never really got. I remember hearing people complaining about it raining too much in the game, but that never felt true for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I definitely felt like there were times where I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. It's raining again.
I just want to get up there.
Yeah, I can't climb up there, but I don't know if it's because I now I've kind of seen the whole world, so there's not like one location I'm just dying to get up to.
Right.
So if it is raining somewhere, I'll just be like, fine, I'll just warp away and go
Right.
do something else. Or if it's because like I have Rivali's Gale, so it's just like whatever, I'll get up there anyways.
Right. I mean, when you've got 3 full meter of stamina, you've got some like stamina boosts in your inventory. and you're wearing the climbing gear and you've got Rivali's Gale, like it can rain if it wants.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna get up there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hard mode too, and that's not that far away.
No, it's the
Next-
30th.
Yeah, next week. But yeah, so I don't think I'm going to buy ARMS.
Okay.
I originally thought I was going to, but like the play test, I don't know. I kind of like felt like I
Global test punch.
the global test punch. I kind of felt like I had had enough
We
of
keep
it.
each other honest,
We
right?
do, yeah. It's why we do this once a week. I felt like I had kind of had enough of it, and we know that fighting games aren't really my thing, and just like watching other people play it and other people talk about it, even people who are liking the game, I could just tell I just don't think this game is for me.
Right. Well, and in a month, Splatoon will be out.
Yeah, which I'm very excited for.
There you go.
It'll be really interesting to see how if ARMS can sustain itself through the Splatoon 2 tsunami.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that will be interesting to see. So I should get some time in on it right now. Is what you're saying? While people
Yeah,
are
because
still
I don't
playing.
know that you'll ever want to play it again.
Great. I've also been playing a little bit of the original Metroid in preparation for our discussion today, wherein we are definitively and authoritatively ranking all 9 main Metroid games.
Yep.
We understand there are 12 total, but we're just ranking the 9. Mark, let's get into that news.
So with E3 wrapping up just a few days ago, most of the news this week is kind of small tidbits that came out through interviews with Nintendo executives and a couple of reveals that happened after we'd recorded our episode. So if you haven't yet, you should listen to our E3 episode from last week where we rap about all of... That's not...
We don't do any real rapping.
That's not the sentence I meant to say, but that's what came out. So expectations are set where we talk about... Nintendo's E3 presence, which was pretty great. But one thing that happened on, I think, like the second or third day of Treehouse Live was Nintendo revealed Max Brass, which is a new ARMS fighter coming as free DLC next month.
It should be noted that Max Brass is the last character that you fight in the like championship mode or the tournament mode when you're playing in single player. So it's like you getting to play as the boss character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And also coming next month is a spectator mode, much like the one used at the Invitational tournament at E3.
Did you watch any of the tournaments?
Yeah, I saw the a little bit of the ARMS one.
Oh, okay. Was it you were saying, I guess, that even watching people who were playing it, you were like, yeah, this game isn't for me. Was it fun to watch?
Yeah, it is fun to watch. The Invitational itself was interesting because obviously there aren't really pro players at this point.
Yeah.
So the people who were in it were good, but it wasn't like... So at the very end, they had the game's producer play the... did you see this?
Yeah,
So
I
there's
did.
the winner of the tournament, and then the game's producer came out and played him in a
just
match.
walloped him,
And
right?
just walloped him. And watching it was like super impressive what you're able to do in this game, especially with the motion controls. It's like, wow, how far we've come from like Wii boxing. But it just so it was really cool to watch, but also it was really cool in the same way that watching somebody be really good at like Street Fighter was cool for me, where it's like I never want to do this, but it's cool to watch somebody be great at it.
Right. Or like gymnastics at the Olympics.
Yeah,
Where, like,
absolutely.
I'm never gonna be 14 again. And that's old. as well. But I'll never be able to do what those people can do. I'm still gonna give ARMS a shot.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad game. I just don't think it's for me.
Sure.
Pikmin 4, that was one that we didn't hear anything about, even though rumors of it existing. Well, not even rumors. Like they've straight up said that they've been working on a new Pikmin game that wasn't Hey Pikmin for a while. Eurogamer finally asked Miyamoto about it, and he said that it is still in development, but they can't say anything more than that.
Which is fine. It's as much as we know about Metroid Prime 4. So
yeah.
These fourth entries in series, we don't get a lot of information on.
They also showed us a little bit of co-op for Super Mario Odyssey,
which is exciting.
One player plays as Mario and the other one as Cappy. it kind of looked to me like a souped up version of Super Mario Galaxy's co-op.
And I really like that sort of limited co-op in Mario games. It's both Sarah and I play the 3D Mario games, so we'll be fighting over the Switch when Odyssey comes out. But it's nice that even when the other person is playing,
Sarah's your girlfriend.
Sarah's my girlfriend for new listeners. Sarah's my dachshund. She paws at the controller. And just having like some other way to be engaged in it without having to be, because Mario can be a stressful game, right? Just to have like a little bit of interaction to the spectator portion of it is fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I haven't really played in co-op very much. Like my only experience was in the first Galaxy, and I guess I didn't think it was very fun, but I think that also might be just like the circumstances of which you're playing.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think it has to be viewed as like something that the person watching the main player play can also do while just watching them play games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, it seems like the little sibling mode.
Yeah. And if that's what you're thinking of it as, and not like, all right, we get a 2-player experience,
right?
Then it's fine.
Yeah. I'm glad that it exists. I'm also glad that Captain Toad is in this game.
Hey, thank God, right? I thought we were gonna lose Captain Toad. We were never gonna see him again. Little guy's back.
Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga plus Bowser's Minions coming this fall to the 3DS. So we had a few weeks ago we had talked about somebody had like data mined the 3DS eShop, and they found a logo for a Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga game, like Superstar Saga DX or something like that.
Sure, there was some new release of this game that people were able to spy in the data mining on the eShop. But now we know what that is.
Yeah, it's like a reimagining of the GBA game.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not the game itself. Is it reimagined?
I think so. I think it's basically like, I mean, reimagined in the sense that I don't think it's a port. I'm pretty sure like everything is redone, like the graphics and everything. And then it also includes a new Bowser's Minions mode,
which looks to be kind of a tactical sort of game where you pick your units and fight them against other units. It's a side story to Superstar Saga.
Yeah, you play as Captain Goomba, and the goal is to collect as many minions as possible while you're saving Bowser.
So let me ask you this. Is every type of creature in the Mario universe eligible for the title of Captain? We've just celebrated the return of Captain Toad. Here now is Captain Goomba. Leads me to believe we got, Captain Piranha Plant, Captain Mole, Captain Yoshi.
Well, we do. I mean, I think they are loose with honorifics in the Mushroom Kingdom.
Sure.
But we know not everybody is necessarily
Dr. Mario.
King Boo.
Yeah, sure.
So there's definitely,
You don't think he's a king?
He might be. I'm not saying what are you saying that he's not a real king, or are you saying that he should be a captain? Captain Boo.
I don't know. I'm saying we don't have all the information.
That's definitely true. Another 3DS game that we didn't know about and that was announced was Sushi Striker: The Way of Sushido, announced for the 3DS coming next year.
The Way of Sushido is such a good pun.
I probably am emphasizing syllables weird in that one. So it should be Sushido.
Yeah, like Bushido.
Yeah. It's from Indie Zero, the same developer as NES Remix, and I think it's Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy.
I always pronounce it Theatrhythm.
That's probably what it is. Whatever it is, it's an incredibly stupid name for a Final Fantasy rhythm game.
Which is, of course, the only way you can name a Final Fantasy rhythm game.
Absolutely. Or stupidly. Any Final Fantasy spin-off.
Right.
So the way it's not exactly a rhythm game. In order to beat challengers and progress through the game, players have to draw a line between same types of sushi that appear on a conveyor belt.
Okay.
It looks really silly. It looks kind of fun. The 3DS will outlive us all.
Right.
Speaking of which, Reggie confirmed in an interview with IGN that Nintendo will be supporting the 3DS through 2018 and beyond. And I did not think that was really going to be a thing, and it is very apparent
Yeah.
that the 3DS is going to be around for a while.
Yeah, I think all of, whatever thoughts we had that the Switch was going to replace the console and the handheld, like, I think we can throw those expectations aside for at least a couple years that they're going to keep supporting this thing. And, it's got a huge install base, and it's easy it travels easy. 2DS is basically indestructible. It makes sense to have like the boutique consumer electronics thing, and then also the 3DS.
We might have talked about it last week, but are you going to get a 2DS Lite XL?
Yeah,
Light. Wait, no, wait. 2DS XL.
2DS XL.
Yeah.
There's no light part of it. Yeah. I think I am. I haven't. Did they come out in July?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that's sooner than I was thinking. But yeah,
I think I'm going to get one too or I'm going to try to. We'll see how impossible they are to pick one up. But I was booting up the 3DS today to like play the demos.
Yeah.
And I've said it before, what a nightmare that
it's so
experience
slow.
is on the old 3DS.
Yeah.
So I want it purely just so that way everything goes a little bit faster. And so I can play Super Nintendo games on the Virtual Console.
Oh, to say nothing of the new Metroid game.
Yes.
Samus Returns is a new 3DS exclusive. So if you want to play that, everyone who wants to play that, you need a new 3DS. Mark, let's take a little break. Can we talk for a second?
I wish we would.
About socks
Mm-hmm.
and underwear.
Yep.
Hoodies.
Absolutely.
Shirts.
Shorts.
Probably undershirts.
Absolutely. Yep.
MacWeldon.com. They're sponsoring this episode. And they sell some comfy clothes.
Look, it's hot outside.
It is.
And it'll be cold outside in a few months.
Right.
We have climate change. Who knows what the climate's going to be like in a few years?
We have climate change deniers. Who knows what they're going to be like in a few years?
No matter what, we'll want to be comfortable.
So what you do, and you will be comfortable. Look, we've been doing the little jokesies here, but the clothing at McWeldon is
no joke.
No joke. The most comfortable clothing that you'll own. So do yourself a favor. Go on MacWeldon.com. This is on a computer.
Or a phone. Or iPad.
Not a Switch.
Not a Switch.
And enter the promo code Nintendo at checkout, and you get 20% off. So you can be comfortable and not spend as much money as you would have otherwise. That's McWeldon.com, promo code Nintendo.
There was a bit of confusion with this, but basically what it boils down to is that Capcom's official stance on bringing Monster Hunter Double Cross West is that they have not announced anything regarding localization.
Okay. What is going on with Monster Hunter and Capcom? Because they also announced a Monster Hunter game on the PlayStation 4.
Worlds, maybe. Maybe it's plural. I can't remember.
World SS cross. Tricky. Okay. I feel like their messaging isn't super clear about Monster Hunter.
So I mean, really, it seems like Monster Hunter World is their play for the West. So it would make sense to me if they want to put especially right now when it was just announced, all of their focus and energy into promoting that game in the West. And so when people are asking them right now about Monster Hunter Double Cross, that's not what they want to talk about at E3.
Sure.
They want to talk about the new Monster Hunter that Sony paid them a lot of money for.
That makes sense.
That they can release. And so, like somebody at E3 was like, we're not bringing it over here. And then later it was unclear. But the official word is that they haven't said either way what's going to happen. I personally will be surprised if it doesn't ever end up coming out over here.
Right.
But I'm not surprised that they didn't announce it at the same time that they're announcing their big new Western version of Monster Hunter.
I guess that makes sense.
We also got some clarity on the Pokemon game that's being created for the Switch.
Woo!
Reggie explained in an interview with Bloomberg that it would be a, quote, traditional fine battle train type experience.
That's more or less what we got from the producer during the E3
Yeah,
spotlight,
absolutely.
right?
But,
always good to have these things confirmed.
Sure, because no matter what, I mean, he also confirmed it for that Metroid Prime Hunter 4, or Metroid Prime 4.
What just happened to you? You just have a stroke, Mark?
Metroid Prime 4 would be a first-person adventure game. So I feel like we live in a time where stating the obvious is necessary. Because if not, there will be 50-page threads on Reddit about what this Pokemon Switch game is and how it's not going to be like a main title.
Right. Well, and ditto Metroid Prime, because the last time they threw that name around, they delivered something that was not in line with people's expectations for that series. Although, I mean, the Pokemon thing seems stranger to me just because, like, that's basically what the producer said during the spotlight, is that it's a mainline RPG in the Pokemon series. So I suppose it could have been like construed that it's like a more traditional RPG where you're not like collecting Pokemon, where it's like you play the role of a Pokemon. And I mean, like, I suppose it could have been, but like everyone knew what he meant.
Yeah, no,
right?
People are just willfully obstinate. Where they're like, we saw this when all the Rabbids plus Mario stuff started leaking, and
Mario plus Rabbids,
and
Battle.
people were still like refusing to believe that it was real, and calling the people who had leaked it months earlier liars, like even faced with evidence. So even when we see, it won't be until this game is actually in people's hands that they will be like, oh, it's actually a Pokemon game.
I mean, it has never happened, right? There's never been a mainline console Pokemon game.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal.
It will be a big deal.
Especially
Pokemon is a system seller.
Yeah, for sure. And especially if Nintendo, since they have said they're going to, is going to continue to support the 3DS for years to come, that makes the Switch the home console, even though you can take it on the go.
Do you think, we're purely just speculating at this point?
Yeah, let's do it.
That it will be Stars? Because
no
think
way.
It'll be like generation, what are we on? Like 9? Do you think it'll be a whole new generation?
I think it'll be a whole new generation, yeah.
The only reason, I think you're probably right. The only reason I could see Stars existing is because that's they have to create a whole new engine.
Yeah.
Right? And whole new assets.
I mean, I think that is true. Sun and Moon look great, but they look great on the 3DS. I think if you were to put them on your Switch screen, which is so much bigger, it's going to look a little bit less good, and then you're going to throw it up on the TV, and it's going to look like garbage. So, yeah, I mean, there are different expectations for console games. There's just no way that they could bring Sun and Moon and throw it up there in 2018, 2019, 2020, whatever. They're going to have to come up with a whole new engine for sure.
Indie developer Midboss announced that their cyberpunk adventure game 2064 Read-Only Memories will be coming to Switch in Q1 2018 with some Switch exclusive features plus some core gameplay improvements such as autosave and fast skip specifically mentioned, among some others.
Okay.
So this is a game that I had seen. It's available on like PC and PlayStation 4 right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one that now that I know it's coming out on Switch, I will probably pick it up. It's kind of a mix between, like LucasArts adventure games and Snatcher and things like that. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like that style of game, the game that has been available on other platforms for a while but is now coming to Switch, so maybe I'll play it. feel like we got some of those coming out this week.
Yeah, definitely. One bit of non E3 news.
What?
The 3DS version of Mighty Number 9, remember that?
Yeah.
It's still coming.
But why?
The-
I guess they promised Kickstarter backers.
yeah. I know this is like, so it's a game that nobody wants
Right.
and that has been in development for so long. It just like feels like a painful slow death. Like you like ran over a dog, but now it's crawling home.
Right.
Nobody wants to see this
No.
dog.
No,
but-
you're just going to scare the kids.
but it's coming anyways.
I backed this thing.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
Wow, this is the
I've never claimed a copy of it.
Ashamed Mighty Number 9
I
backer.
am.
What? Don't they just like send you something?
There was a point where they were sending around surveys about what platform you wanted it on, and this was still like 7 or 8 months out from the actual release, and I didn't get the survey, and it was a commonly reported problem that like you had to reach out to them, and then there was a lot of like back and forth, and I was like, I'm not going through that.
Well, that makes sense, especially because even 7 or 8 months, was this 7, 8 or 8 months out from the actual release, or like one of their first?
No. One of I think the actual release.
Oh, okay. Because by that point, the writing was kind of on the wall. This was a stinker.
Yes. Yeah.
So
yeah, it was late enough in the cycle that I was already disinterested in owning the game.
do you remember what platform you had backed it for?
No, I mean I think when I originally backed it, I was just backing it without.
Oh, sure.
So I never had the opportunity, and I think 3DS is where I would have wanted it. I was about to do like the mental math of like, but where would I want it now? And the answer is I don't want it now. I'd want it in the garbage.
Well, so development on the mobile version or the handheld versions was stalled for a long time, but then Concept, which is Inafune's,
Inafune,
yeah, his company.
Kenji Inafune.
Mm-hmm. But they were recently purchased by Level 5.
All right.
And so now that that's been like taken care of, it looks like they're kind of clearing the pipe, so to speak, and just being like, all right, let's just just like wrap this up.
Right. Let's pay these old bills.
Let's bury this dog. So and that should be,
but no release date yet.
sometime this year. They're actually hoping to get it out sometime in 2017. And the letter that they sent out to backers was like, and maybe sooner than that. So,
Maybe I should check my spam folder.
finally, just a reminder that June 22nd is the last time Nintendo Badge Arcade on the 3DS will be updated with new badges. The app won't be shutting down, but they've reached their capacity, and no more badges will be added going forward.
Confession. I sort of like Nintendo Badge Arcade.
So I've never opened it up. So explain to me exactly what it is, because I know it's like a microtransaction thing.
Yeah.
And you're paying for badges, but I don't understand. Like I don't really understand.
Sure. Well, you're paying for plays and every like a coin to move it's like a claw grabby kind of game. And so there are different boards, and the different boards are just little layouts that have these badges themed to specific Nintendo games. Then when you collect those badges, every single one you can use to decorate your 3DS itself.
Oh.
So like all of the folders on my 3DS have a badge on top of them. So like my Super Nintendo folder has a Super Mario World question block on it. So like I don't, it's got like these nice visual cues, and then you can drop other badges in there.
I understand.
However you want.
That's actually a lot cooler than I thought it was, or than I realized.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's always infuriatingly slow to start.
Well, I think that's why they are not updating it anymore.
Oh,
because
sure.
they have like reached the point where if they like their limits quality assurance wise of getting this thing to load with any more badges.
Yeah. Well, and so I mean, but I think they could do just like having badges available for a limited time and then like taking them away.
Or what if they did like Nintendo Badge Arcade 2?
Hey, that's perfect. It's also there's when you play the app, there's like a bunny that guides you through the experience, and he's got a lot of personality, which means he talks a lot. So you don't really get to the claw game as quickly as you might like, but he's charming, and I like the character and would like to see him in future stuff. He reminds me a lot of Rusty in Rusty's Real Deal Baseball.
Man, Rusty's Real Deal Baseball got a real raw deal because
Real Rusty Raw Deal.
because it was a fun game and like such a awesome way that was like so Nintendo to do like DLC, not DLC. What am I like in-app purchases?
Yeah, well, because like you can actually
Barter.
with, yeah, you can get the prices down.
It's like so weird and fun and just like the characters were great.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I mean, honestly, yeah, it's there's something about that, like kind of the meta game still being a game in both Rusty and in Nintendo Badge Arcade, where I would like to see more characters like that hosting like arcades. You know what I mean? That if there was just a Nintendo Arcades Classic as hosted by the Bunny, that would be super fun, and I would get into that.
how much was it like per play? Like, would you just buy like a pack of 5? Is that how it worked? And
Yeah,
it was,
I
like,
think it
a
was something like
dollar
that.
or two
Like
or something.
yeah, for like a buck for 5, and every couple plays you get a free play. When it started, it was a lot better about giving out free plays. And when you start, it's like you get 5 or 10 free plays. And when you unlock a couple badges for one, like in one game, you can get a theme for the 3DS, which is nice. It's like I never purchase themes, but like I will purchase chances to get badges, which will then unlock a theme.
Yeah, no,
So,
totally.
I mean, it worked on me. I probably spent like $5 or $6 on it, all things told. But like, I don't know. I enjoyed my experience with it, and it's not going anywhere. But I'm sad to see it.
No new badges.
No new badges. Moving to the new releases.
Yeah, so on today, June 20th, Cave
Mhm.
Story Plus comes out on the Switch, and I'm going to pick this up.
Cool. You'll have to let me know how it is. I'm interested in Cave Story, but with like a little bit of distance.
Yeah, it's also $30, which seems
that's
a
not bad.
lot for it seems a lot for a game that's been out for like almost 10 years at this point
Yeah.
on various platforms.
Mhm.
And I think if you bought it physically, so it comes with like a CD and a really cool instruction booklet, it would probably be more worth it, but I of course am going all digital. It's my own fault. But yeah, I realized this weekend because I have Mario Kart and I'm still playing Breath of the Wild, but I realized that I'm ready for that next thing.
Yeah.
And I was
The
hoping
next like meaty experience.
yeah, and I was hoping maybe ARMS is going to be that, but it is not. So I'm excited to dive into Cave Story. Also, River City Knights of Justice is coming out on the 3DS eShop today.
Mark, am I a fool?
I don't how do you want me to answer this?
I'm considering picking up this game.
Sure, why not? I don't I mean, is it going to be like $30-$40?
I mean, I think it's $29.99.
Okay.
I might be wrong.
No, you like those games.
I like them okay.
And the knight like the medieval times novelty seems worth it to me.
Yeah, it seems like it'll be. Look, I'm going to Wisconsin this weekend. I'm gonna need something to play on the plane. That seems like a pretty good candidate.
On the 22nd, Oceanhorn: Monster of Uncharted Seas is coming out for the Switch, as is the Neo Geo game Fatal Fury 2.
Oceanhorn is exciting.
Is it?
I think so.
Okay. I mean, it's a mobile game. It's been out for
Right.
a number, and it looks pretty much just like a Zelda ripoff.
Right. People were having positive experiences with it, weren't they?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good Zelda ripoff, but
Look, there are a lot of Zelda ripoffs out there. 3D Game Heroes, others.
I'll be. I don't know what the price is on Oceanhorn. If it was cheap, it's like $8, I think, on the phone and on like your iPhone.
Yeah.
But if it's around that, I think I would pick it up. But
Oh,
if it's
there's
like,
no way it's going to be at least $20, right?
I hope not. And then on Friday is the 23rd, Ever Oasis comes out on the 3DS.
Which Mark will be the first in line to
Not buy.
No. Oh. All right. Well, I'm looking for this price, but I can't find it. Mark, let's move out of the news. Now it's time for a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, you gave us today's topic. Oh, this is
No. You're welcome.
Very good. Why don't you kick off the discussion? Here?
Sure. I just wanted to talk about our favorite Simpson episode ever.
Our favorite episode of The Simpsons,
Mm-hmm.
the syndicated television program, The Simpsons.
You may have heard of it.
Right.
Yeah. What's your favorite episode? If you had to choose just one.
So my go-to answer for this has been Lisa on Ice for a very long time. Because I think it's got some good jokes and it's got that brother-sister relationship down, and I cry every time.
It's a sweet episode.
It's a sweet episode when baby Lisa loses that ice cream cone and Bart just like knocks his onto her ice cream cone. It's very sweet, and the music is awesome in that moment. What's yours?
So my go-to is King Size Homer.
God, so funny.
Just because there are just so many moments that really, really make me laugh. Like, I love when he goes to see Honk If You're Horny.
Right? And he's just there to see Honk If You're Horny in peace.
Yeah.
The fingers you have used to dial are too fat.
Yeah, I think that's the one that but so I've been watching a lot of early Simpsons recently, like, which I would say like the first like 9 or 10 episode or seasons.
Yeah.
And
which is now like the first third of the show,
yeah,
by the way.
And you realize like how much was lost when they moved to HD.
Yeah.
Because it used to be like super visually inventive.
Mm-hmm. And now the presentation is a lot more just like proscenium based, like normal staging. Yeah.
Yeah. And also what like a great job they did of capturing, I don't know, or just like the spirit of like Bart as like a 10-year-old boy, and you know, like when Bart imagines things, and it's like a giant ant taking over his school or something like that.
Yeah, I remember thinking that The Simpsons had some like supernatural ability to see into children's lives and like put them up on the screen, that like the kid specifics on that show were always so good, and felt true to my experience. And like, I don't know, I'm not a kid now, so I can't say, whether they're speaking to the child experience accurately now, but like, it just doesn't, that feels like part of the magic that the show lost after however many years. Is there any reason you're doing a rewatch right now, or just cuz?
No, it's just like something that I've like that's easy to have on while you're doing something else.
Yeah, where like you can choose to engage in it all you want, or you can just let it play in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was recently on a flight just last weekend, and they had live TV on the flight.
Yeah.
And The Simpsons was coming up, and I was so excited. And then it was like a season like 18 episode or something. But and that's like, so as soon as it comes on,
you know. Yeah. It's so weird that like the extremes of it are like, oh, this is either going to be a thing that I've seen literally hundreds of literally hundreds of times, that is going to comfort and pacify and love me as much as I love it, or it's going to be this thing that attacks my sensibilities, makes me physically uncomfortable for the next 22 minutes.
that I've probably never seen.
Right. Yeah, and that you've never seen. That's right. With the rare exceptions. Yeah, it was very strange to me when I started to realize that, like, oh yeah, there's more Simpsons that I haven't seen than Simpsons I have seen.
If you were going to introduce somebody to The Simpsons, would you choose Lisa on Ice as like your introductory episode?
That's hard. Probably. I think all Simpsons episodes are not all. That's wrong. I think most Simpsons episodes are perfect capsules and can be watched in any order with no context whatsoever. And Lisa on Ice is a good example of what the show can do well when it's trying to be sweet and when it's trying to be funny. But I think like pound for pound, laugh for laugh, King Size Homer, it would be a better pull. Or like You Only Move Twice, the Hank Scorpio episode would be another good candidate for like, look how funny this show can.
Well, we'll never know.
We in fact, will never know what Mark's recommendation for that would have been. We were accompanied today by violinist Robert Rescott. So thank you, Robert. Let's move into our main topic for the week. Okay, Mark, it's on.
All right.
We've tasked ourselves with ranking the 9 mainline Metroid games.
That's right. So we previously did this with the console Zelda games.
We put extra restrictions on all of our lists just so look. Here are the 3 games that we're leaving out. 3 games that we're not discussing. Metroid Prime Pinball, Metroid Prime Hunters, and Metroid Prime Federation Force. We could put them on the bottoms of our list, or just quietly admit that we haven't played them and kind of shrug. But we're just taking them. We're just removing them.
Well, we're both pretty big Metroid fans, I would say, right?
I would say yes.
And it's been a long walk through the desert, but it looks like Nintendo has heard our prayers.
That's right.
And we have 2 Metroid games to look forward to. One just a couple months away.
Right. And is a remake of one of the games that we're going to rank today, and another one being a sequel to other games that we're going to talk about today.
So it's a great time to be a Metroid fan and a great time to create a definitive ranking of the Metroid games.
Irrefutable and authoritative.
I'm not arguing with either of those.
So we have come up with our own separate lists without consulting with each other. We're conducting this the exact same way we did the Zelda console ranking.
Mm-hmm.
We will come to a consensus by hell or high water, and that'll be that.
That'll be the definitive Nintendo Cartridge Society ranking.
Right.
And of course, that by proxy becomes the definitive ranking.
And you'll probably see other lists on the internet somewhere. Just know those lists are fine. Just know that they are not part of our official ranking, which is irrefutable, cannot be debated or denied.
So if you want to hear our Zelda rankings,
right?
So which are the best Zelda games ever,
right?
You can check out that episode.
Yeah, it's an older episode, probably called "Ranking the Zeldas" or something like that. We stopped being creative in naming our episode titles, but they're easier to find now.
Yeah.
Okay, Mark, how do you want to do this? Do you want to go through your list and then I'll go through mine?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, so start at the bottom and work your way up.
Okay, so at number 9, I have Metroid Other M.
All right.
Followed by Metroid 2 Return of Samus.
Okay.
Followed by Metroid.
Okay.
Followed by Metroid Prime 2 Echoes.
Uh-huh.
Followed by Metroid Prime 3 Corruption.
Okay.
Followed by Metroid Fusion.
Okay.
And then Super Metroid.
Uh-huh.
And then Metroid Prime. And then Metroid Zero Mission.
Okay, so you've got Zero Mission in
the number 1 spot.
Number 1 spot.
Yep.
And in number 9 spot, you've got
Other M.
Other M. There are some ways in which our lists are similar. Some ways in which I'm going to crawl over this table. All right. Bottom of my list. Number 9, Metroid.
Okay.
Number 8, Metroid 2, The Return of Samus. Number 7, Metroid Other M. Number 6, Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. Number 5, Metroid Prime 3. Number 4, Metroid Zero Mission. Number 3, Metroid Fusion, sorry. Number 2, Metroid Prime, and number 1, Super Metroid.
Okay, all right.
So I'm willing to concede that part of my Super Metroid at number 1 is that is Super Nintendo is the sweet spot for me, right? Like that's where I love, Mark.
Uh-huh.
It's where I live and love.
Yep. Me too.
My heart, my veins pump 16-bit blood. But we shouldn't start at the top.
No,
right?
that'll drive us crazy. we have to start it with consensus and then build to the disagreement.
Right. Okay. So the bottom of the list, our bottom 3 are the same.
Yeah,
so
that makes
order.
it easy. But they are the same titles.
Right.
So
and just to review, those are Metroid, Metroid Other M, and
Metroid 2,
The Return of Samus.
The Return of Samus. So I'm fluid on Metroid 2 because I have not played that game since the Game Boy. So
you're fluid in where you're
in where we want to place it.
I thought you were saying like it's a language that you speak. Fluent, I guess, is what I thought you said.
And so have you played it more recently or like gone back to it or anything? So are we both basing this on?
Yeah, I'm basing it on old memories as well. Yeah.
Like really, like all 3 of those. I do feel like Metroid is the best out of the 3, only because it was like groundbreaking.
Yeah, okay. So it is, but
it's not a fun game.
Yeah,
I don't like playing that game.
I feel like we didn't grant the same kind of leeway to the Zeldas when we ranked them. And I don't think that the original Metroid is as good a game as either Nintendo Zelda game. I think both The Legend of Zelda and The Adventure of Link are better games.
I definitely agree with you on The Legend of Zelda. I hated The Adventure of Link, so
fair enough.
But I don't really like Metroid all that much.
It's
like I don't think it's fun to play anymore.
Here's the thing: the difficulty curve in the original Metroid it's out of whack. It is unbalanced. The game has awesome exploratory elements, and it's got some of the series like least pushy like ability gating, right? Like you don't always need to have the next item to get into the like you're breaking new ground sometimes just by getting like a missile upgrade or an energy container where you're like, oh, I can stand to be in this space a little bit longer. And all of that's really cool, except that like you can just get blown away by like a couple bad, poorly timed hits or like fall into lava and you can't get out of it or whatever. And so like that combined with the game isn't super good at communicating its environments to you. So like each hallway, each like tower, whatever looks the same. I was playing it today and was drawing like a map in my lap because I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to play this without a map. I need to make it myself. And even still, I was like getting lost and confused and frustrated. And especially when Zero Mission is out there to like retell that story and kind of represent that experience, I just feel like I put this one at the bottom of my list.
So why do you put Metroid 2 above it?
So I put 2 above it because I like the way it expands. First of all, it expands the moveset and like the equipment in a way that is exciting. It has a lot of the same problems with exploration being like strangely presented to you. The Game Boy can only show you so many different environments, right? But like, that's where we start to see a spider ball and spring ball and a Varia suit and all of these other the different beams besides just wave and ice. Metroid 2 for me is where that series starts to look like itself. Yeah, so I think it's a better game than the original.
And then why Other M above either of those? Yeah.
Well, because for as much as you and I complained about Other M when we played it, you can check out all those episodes where we are complaining about Other M. it's not really a negative gameplay experience, right? Like we would get frustrated from time to time, um, but like we always sort of knew the score and like knew what was happening. I don't know. It's the other two games. I can't see myself like muscling through Metroid or Metroid Two at any time in the future. Whereas I could see playing Other M again. And I know like a lot of the chances that it takes. Well, why don't you tell me why you have it in last place?
Um. Uh. So I guess I have Metroid above it because, and Metroid 2 above it
Hmm.
because I think Metroid was like groundbreaking, and I do think that counts for something, even though it is not a game I ever enjoy going back to.
Sure.
Um, and like you said, like Metroid 2 improved on Metroid in a lot of ways. But Metroid Other M, I just it doesn't really feel like a Metroid game to me. It's
Hmm.
like very guided. The
Yes.
combat isn't really fun, but combat is like the focus of it.
Hmm.
It's so story oriented, but the story isn't interesting.
Yeah.
Like the idea of having to play through Other M to me sounds like such a drag because it's such a time consuming experience
Yeah.
for such little reward. Like it didn't do anything better than we've seen in like it didn't even do combat better, right?
Right. Yeah.
Than anything we've seen in a 2D Metroid or a 3D Metroid. To me it just feels like the least interesting title in the series, even though it tried some things and none of them worked.
I mean, I think it does try some things that do work. Well, the moment to moment like storytelling is stupid. I think like the bigger story of the game is interesting, um, and like exploring Samus's relationship with people that like used to command her in some capacity. Like, I think that's cool. I know that's not executed well. And I also think some of the environments in that game are nice.
I do think some of the environments in the game are pretty nice. And I was actually, even though it doesn't look great, I was surprised it looks okay
Yeah,
graphically.
yeah.
For being 2 generations ago at this point.
Here's what I would like to put forth.
Sure.
Um, I'm I'm okay for our definitive list putting Metroid Other M on the bottom,
Okay.
but then I would like to go number 8 Metroid, number 7 Metroid 2: The Return of Samus.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Here I'm going to type this and keep track.
So now I think so those three we have Other M, Metroid, the Metroid 2 Return of Samus, and then I think both of our lists had Metroid Prime 2 Echoes next, and then Metroid Prime 3 Corruption just above that.
That's correct. So I think it's obvious that we like there's a little bit of a divide with what's next just between the 3D Metroids and the 2D, right? And for the most part, we're ranking the 2D ones higher.
And yeah, I guess we've never talked about it before, but I think Metroid Prime 3 Corruption in general
Mhm.
has a better reputation than we have it ranked. You know, like
Oh, really?
I think so. I think people really liked it and like really liked the pointer controls on the Wii.
I've got a real problem with the pointer controls. That they're the only way that I can play any of the Prime games now. I've got them on I've got them on the Wii U as they were sold as Wii games with the pointer controls, the Prime trilogy, um,
Do you
and
have a boxed copy or digital?
digital. Yeah, that box copy is worth like $100.
Yeah, it's rare.
It's rare. It's amazing that even like a rare game is like, oh, it's worth $50 more than it would be otherwise.
I mean, that's more. I mean, consider if you go to GameStop, how many Wii games you could probably buy for
Oh yeah,
$100.
for a nickel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So mm, let's talk about why, just in ranking the Prime games. Obviously, we put more stock in the original Prime than the other two. Um, you want to talk about why that is? Like, what? How do you rank those games? How do you distinguish those three games?
So there's a couple of things I didn't. I think Metroid Prime 2 is just like it's not a bad game,
Mm-hmm.
but it pales in comparison to the other two and to the experience of some of the other 2D Metroids that we're going to talk about.
Yeah. One of the so the reason I put Echoes lowest of the 3Ds is it has this like light world dark world mechanic, and really all it does, like, you never have the ability to make the dark world suck any less. You're always slowly taking damage, you're always like running from one part of it to another. There's no, the experience of a Metroid game is like slowly conquering a space and then like feeling like you have mastery over it and like knowing where to go next, what to do, and like when you grab a new item, you're like, oh, it's gonna unlock everything. The whole world's gonna open up. And there's nothing like that for the dark world parts of Prime 2. So for me, that's why I'm like, no,
Yeah, it's
this is
just
my
it
least
makes it
favorite.
like less fun to play.
Yeah,
So Corruption, I never really loved the Wiimote controls, but I do appreciate how it kind of opened up movement and combat, and it makes Samus move faster.
yeah,
And so I like that. The thing I don't really like about that game is everything is really chatty.
yeah.
It's more story oriented than we had seen in any of the other Prime games.
Right. In that it actually has like
Yeah,
cutscenes.
like cutscenes and people are like talking to you. I missed the isolation
Yeah.
of um 1 and 2. Uh and so like yeah, it's just like the more that they introduce plot into Metroid games, the less I like them in general, it seems like.
Yeah, I think that's yeah, I think that's generally true. So 3 is also a little bit of a sequel to Hunters, right? Because there are other bounty hunters that appear in Metroid Prime Hunters, like Silex. Um, and so like in that way, I feel less attached to it as well, just because like I played a little bit of Hunters, but like it's a weird proof of concept for a first person shooter on DS that barely proves the concept, you know? um and so yeah, for me, like that's another just like level of disconnection from it for me. Um that it's sort of like the melding of the Prime and Prime Hunters.
And this is really like being a stickler, but I actually think like the introduction of cutscenes and a lot of like humans that you interface with
Hmm.
in Corruption is like ages the game worse
For
because
sure.
they don't look great. You
Right.
know, they look like souped up GameCube era humans, which that hasn't aged that well. And so and you don't get a lot of that in the original Prime or even in Echoes very much. And so
Right.
like visually, I think it takes a hit that way as well.
Okay. So that leaves us with the top 4, right? And so let's just review what these games are. Okay? We've got uh the 2 Game Boy Advance games, Zero Mission and Fusion, Prime, and Super Metroid.
Mm-hmm.
Now, uh what of these 4 games, one of them does have the criticism that we've been leveling against 3 and other M. Fusion is a chatty game.
Yes.
Um and
And you
there's a
and
lot of story in it, but it doesn't suffer from the like uncanny valley because it's presenting itself as a
like 16-bit era
yes.
like Super Nintendo game. I like Fusion.
Yeah,
I
I like Fusion a lot.
I think it's a really good game. I have it next
Hmm.
after Corruption. Um And it's not like a knock on it in any way, but I I think exactly for the reasons that you said,
Hmm.
you begin to see what how Other M came about. Like we didn't
Sure.
know it at the time, but we're just like, oh, like all this Atom stuff, and even though it plays fine in Fusion because you don't know what's
Right.
coming down the line, but now with the benefit of hindsight,
Yeah, I mean, Other M ends up being like it's story wise ends up being a prequel to Fusion.
mhm,
So yeah, it's I mean even a lot of the same characters, or in Fusion, Samus mentions Adam a bunch, and the AI that's like commanding her around the ship, um, like she has a similar relationship. Although by the end of Fusion, I love that at the end of Fusion, she is an outlaw. She's like turned on the Federation,
yeah.
and like it's so cool the character turn that she takes in that.
Well, and that's why I would love a game that takes place after Fusion.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when it happens, Metroid 5 is going to be awesome, right? Prime 4 great, 2 remake awesome, but like I want 5. I want to know where we go from there. Um
So you have it higher up on the list
I
than I
do.
do.
I do. I have Zero Mission next, which is your number 1.
Yeah.
Um so let's how do you have them here?
So I have Fusion,
Mhm.
followed by Super Metroid, followed by Metroid Prime,
Mhm.
with Metroid Zero Mission as number 1.
And I've got Zero Mission next, then Fusion, Prime, and Super at number 1. So I don't know how we approach this.
Okay.
I think
Well,
both of our lists are valid,
uh-huh,
first of all, um,
but not definitive.
but not definitive. We're not there yet.
Okay. Well, I think that we should talk about where we want to place Fusion, because this is a title that we don't disagree on that much.
Sure.
You have Zero Mission below it, right?
Right.
And so why is it? Why do you like Fusion better than Zero Mission?
I like Fusion better than Zero Mission because of what it does for the character of Samus. I love Zero Mission, but one of the things that I think it is actually not great about is that it introduces the like Zero Suit Samus, which is a fun like game mechanic, but is also like not a way that we ever saw the character presented until then. That like she used to just be this like tough as nails, wearing this like mech suit thing, and then I don't know. There's so much deviant art of
Right.
Zero Suit Samus, and like you don't even have to go very far to make it like inappropriate. It's a skin tight, light blue thing that like is nothing but butt.
Well, there's a little boob in there.
There's a little boob in there too. That's right. Sorry. So I think, and I guess it's hard because we haven't really seen where they've taken post Fusion Samus, but I think post Zero Mission Samus hasn't been treated with the same sort of like I think that's one of the like beginning of the end moments for like us taking that character seriously.
And I can appreciate that. So for me, Zero Mission is in a lot of ways, like gameplay wise,
Mm-hmm.
like Metroid, 2D Metroid perfected.
Sure.
It's like they took all of the lessons that because it's for me to call it just like a remake of the original Metroid is not true. Like,
Right.
They use that original game as like a jumping off point, but the world is much bigger. Like it feels almost like super Metroid sized,
Yeah, I think that's right. It
and
may even be bigger than Super Metroid.
it has like just like it takes all the lessons from Super Metroid and from all the other 2D Metroid games that came before, including Metroid Fusion, and applies them all into one 2D Metroid game.
Yeah.
That to me is like, and it includes this new like stealth mechanic, like something we had never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, it's like the perfect 2D Metroid game. I think it's even better than Super, even though Super is more influential.
Sure. I think I mean, this is where it gets so hard because like I'm just speaking from the heart, at this point. Um, for me, I guess if we're getting into the conversation of Super Metroid versus Zero Mission, I'm not necessarily sure that we're there yet. I think that's probably what this is going to come down to, is that we're going to have one of them at number 1 and the other one at number 2, right?
Probably.
Probably. So maybe we should just deal with where we're putting Fusion and Prime
Okay.
at this point.
So I think Prime is better than Fusion.
Okay.
So,
I can live with that. Number 4 Fusion, number 3 Prime.
mm-hmm.
You willing to sign off on that? Make it official.
I mean, so well, obviously, I think Super Metroid is a great game,
mm-hmm.
but obviously, I think Zero Mission has gone beyond what Super Metroid did,
Right.
and I also think that Metroid Prime is better than Super Metroid.
I can't with that. Metroid Prime is a very good game. And
it's one of those impossible games. It's like when we saw the Avengers for the first time.
Yes.
And we take it for granted now that this Marvel Cinematic Universe works and that you can have all these characters mash up and everything. But at the time, everybody thought it was going to be a train wreck.
Right.
And so watching it and having it happen and work was like, oh my gosh, they actually did it.
Right. That like it's a successful story on its own. Plus, it's like a good conclusion to, or at least like second chapter, third chapter in a lot of these character story arcs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's and I feel kind of the same way about Metroid Prime, where this is a game that should, by all accounts, should not have worked. You're taking like a 2D side scroller game and you turn into the third dimension, and it's amazing. Like the storytelling is pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it all just happens like through the environment, and there's as much story as you want there to be. And if you don't care about any of it, you can kind of just ignore all of it. It retains like the puzzle solving elements and the combat.
Being a ball feels great.
Being a ball feels super cool. And they knocked it out of the park on their first go.
So, I mean, I agree. Look, at this point, we're talking about 4 great games.
Yes,
in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, probably this is where the divide is between like the great Metroid games and the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
Which obviously we were able to rank definitively. But so here, I mean, no matter where we put any of these here, there's going to be some heartbreak, right?
Yep.
God, I have a real hard time not seeing, and I understand that like we have different number ones on this, but like having Super at 3 is too much for me. So, I don't know. I guess let's talk about Super Metroid, because I feel like we haven't really talked about that game.
Sure.
That much yet. So Super Metroid's got some awesome environments. It has those kind of like blow your mind moments of traversal where like planting the power bomb in the tube that leads you into the water world, just shattering it and granting you access, flooding that area. Just cool moments like that. Or going around the ghost ship part of it before it's been like reactivated, and like turning on the power and the whole thing like springing to life. There's just so much implied storytelling there about like what's on that planet, why it's on that planet. And I love the wildlife that you encounter in there, those little monkeys that teach you how to do the wall jump, and that bird that teaches you how to do that super fast like dive thing, and those characters come back in Fusion. And even the way that opening cinematic at the time was also mind blowing. Just to hear a voice speak, "The last Metroid is in captivity. The galaxy is at peace." And having that whole like self destruct sequence right at the beginning, which is then kind of mirrored by the end of the game. I don't know. For me, it's like a perfect package. I love that game so much. Um, and I think I like it for its efficiency. Like you can have a really solid play of that game with a high completion rate that lasts like 7 or 8 hours. Um, whereas I it's hard because I haven't done like a full playthrough of Prime in years. Um, but my memory of that was it being a lumpier experience. Um, but it does deserve a lot of credit for like working out the kinks, right? Of like, it tilts the camera down when you're approaching a ledge that you're jumping from, just like automatically, so you have a sense of where you are. Um,
And I also think the atmosphere in Prime is
mhm.
pretty amazing too.
Yeah,
Like the environments and the way that they were able to convey them using GameCube technology
hmm
is like, I obviously it has been surpassed graphically, but I think it still holds
right.
up pretty well.
Well, right, because it's not really relying on like graphical power. It's more design that gets it there. I think one thing that Prime also does really well is finding ways to sneak in little character beats or like little moments that remind you who the person is. Because one of my complaints with first-person games is that like you lose that connection to the character because you're kind of just they're your avatar. But like when you blast something like at close range that you can see Samus's reflection in the visor, I always thought that was so cool. Um, and like when she'll grapple onto something that you can like see her arm reach out to grapple. Um, yeah, I mean at this point I'm just complimenting these games.
um okay, so
Should we just go back and put other M at the top and
just call it a day.
just call it a day?
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, I guess what we have to do is just
We have to compromise.
put Prime above Fusion.
Go Fusion Prime and then fight out the last two,
Ye-
or
yeah, because
let's do
like I
that.
mean, because like honestly, like I can go either way between Super Metroid and Metroid Prime. They're both
Sure.
really great games, but it's just a sliver between, like which one do you prefer?
Yeah.
And it can kind of go either way.
Yeah. I mean, and so when we did this for Zelda, I had Link to the Past as my number one. Again, knowing that I place again my blood is 16-bit, and that tempers my evaluation of any game. But Super Metroid, I think, just is my favorite video game. Um, I have them both on my 3DS, and I was playing Link to the Past recently, and was like, "This is a very good game. I still really love it." It wasn't as immediately like magnetic to me as the last time I played Super, also on the 3DS. Yeah, okay. We're at our top two here.
All right.
All right.
Super Metroid and Zero Mission. And it's interesting to me that this is what it comes down to, because I don't know that for many people I don't even think for you this is really a contest. I think you like Super Metroid
Yes,
a lot more than you like Zero Mission.
that's right. I mean, I had Zero Mission at my. I had it like 4 positions back here.
Yeah.
Um,
So do you think having it at 2 is too high?
No, I don't. I think it's a very good game. Again, in these top 4, I feel like there's maybe no wrong order, except any order that doesn't put Super first.
Well, I don't think Fusion should be. I think Fusion's good where it is.
Yeah, that's right.
I think these top
you're right.
3 are really.
That's where they're being. That's where the real contest is. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right that like I don't. If we were to put Zero Mission at number one, that would just be me conceding. But geez, I don't know. We both made our cases for
Yeah, I mean, I guess
Zero
I,
Mission
I
and
really
Super.
feel like Zero Mission takes all the lessons of Super Metroid and applies them to this new game, in addition to everything they learned from Fusion and everything they learned from, making 2D Metroids in the past. But I also understand your point about, like we talked about with I talked about with Fusion, how you've seen at the time you couldn't tell what Zero Suit Samus was going to become.
Right.
But looking back, you're like, oh, this is where that happened.
Right.
And it is not as fresh an experience as Super Metroid was. And, like when Super Metroid happened, there's a reason why Metroidvanias exist, right? And it's not
because
because
of Super Metroid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if
it's because of Super Metroid and Castlevania Symphony of the Night. That's it.
So if we're counting, like if we're taking into account which one has the bigger impact, I don't think you can question that was Super Metroid.
Should we talk at all about the platform on which these I think one of the big things in Zero Mission's favor is that it is a Game Boy Advance game, right? Like Metroid on 2D Metroid on handheld makes a lot of sense, right? And
yeah, totally. Also, it doesn't look bad when you play it now.
no,
on like the Wii U Virtual Console.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the same is true of Super Metroid.
Oh, absolutely.
They both those games have great sprite work. Oh boy.
So you're saying because it's on a handheld and 2D Metroid kind of like lives on handheld now? Because it didn't.
It didn't. Right. I mean, right. Well, because there was no such thing as until very recently 3D Metroid at that time on handheld or otherwise.
Yeah.
There's no easy, and we cannot do tied for first place. We cannot. This is a list, a ranking,
a definitive ranking.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
and it's only getting hotter in this room. Who's gonna fold first?
All right. I mean, it's not like this is like a heart-rending decision because they're both really, in my opinion, they're both really great games.
I agree with that.
And so to concede that Super Metroid is maybe more deserving of number one than Zero Mission is not like, a heartbreak.
I agree. I feel like I would be heartbroken to put Zero Mission above.
That's what I mean.
Super,
That's what I mean. So like for me, it's much easier to say, yeah, let's put especially since you had Zero Mission much further down your list.
Right.
Like if you had Your Druthers, it would not even be in the conversation for the top 3.
No, it'd be at number 10 off the list. I'd say let's get Federation Force in here.
So yeah, I think I'm comfortable putting Super Metroid as number 1 and Zero Mission is number 2.
All right. I agree. Very gracious of you, Mark. Thank you. All right. So here, are we ready for our definitive list? Irrefutable and authoritative.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good list.
I think it's a good list too. Let's read through it.
Okay.
The bottom of our list, number 9, Metroid, Other M.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Dr. Bergman. Bergstrom?
Bergman.
Bergman,
Pretty sure
I was
Bergman.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because Bergman.
Yeah.
Number 8, the original Metroid. Number 7, Metroid 2, The Return of Samus. Number 6, Metroid Prime 2, Echoes. Number 5, Metroid Prime 3, Corruption. At number 4, Metroid Fusion. At number 3, Metroid Prime. At number 2, Metroid Zero Mission. And at number 1, Super Metroid. It's a good list.
It's a good list.
I think we did good. That was tough, Mark. All right. Let's get out of this topic. If you have anything to say about our definitive list, you can always write us an email at Nintendo Cartridge Society
At gmail.com.
However, just know that if you have them ranked in a different order, it is non-compliant with our definitive.
But we
ranking.
still want to hear about
We
it.
still want to hear about it. Just know that it doesn't count.
I mean, it won't be definitive.
Right.
But that's
right.
okay.
That's
we
right.
do lots of things that aren't definitive.
That's right. I do non-definitive things
all the time.
all the time. Also, where would you, if you had our definitive list, which you do, and you wanted to rank in the 3 that we left out, where would you slot those in? All at the bottom? Some of them above Other M? Some of them above Super? Probably not, but I'd love to hear. Love to know where that Prime Pinball goes. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of this show, whatever it's called, Nintendo Cartridge Society. You can email us about whatever you like. Again, the email address is nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com. You can check us out on Twitter. We are NinCart Society, and the Facebook page is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. We would love for you to rate and review us on iTunes, or tell a friend about us while you're checking out what us. You can check out other What's a Creative podcasts. Mark was just on the Trust the Bachelor Process podcast and was very funny on it. And Mark and I show up on stuff all the time. If you like our opinions, you can check out our reviews of comic books on retconpunch.com. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can check out his music by going to his website, which is just 8bitbetty.com, or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Eller saying thanks for listening.
What's a Creative Podcast Network?